Hi, I'm Kimberly, and I'm going to be summarizing and what my opponents have stated. Okay, so first to discuss the significance claim. I have a quote from the Huntington Post from an article, "No One Can Live on $7.25 an hour," that says that between 1968 and 2009, Congress increased minimum wage by $5.65, but as Congressional Research Service states, the real minimum wage fell because legislative adjustments did not enable the minimum wage to keep pace with the increase in consumer prices. To elaborate on the counterclaims against our inheritance claim, that it doesn't push as many or a significant amount of number out of the poverty line by increasing the minimum wage. I have a quote from that same article that says that raising the minimum wage by just $2.85 an hour to $10.10 would push nearly 5 million of the working poor out of poverty and would push many of them off government assistance programs, which they still qualify for despite working full-time jobs. So that just goes to show that even with the minimum wage that we have instilled right now, working full-time with that wage, they still qualify for government-assisted programs, which are implemented to help people who are below the poverty line and who need help. What's it called? I have an article, "Why Raising the Minimum Wage is Good Economics," from that article, quote that says, "Even if one can work full-time after state and federal taxes and Social Security and Medicare deductions, one is lucky to retain $225 a week or $12,000 a year, which is precisely the threshold of poverty for a single person." That was to refute my opponent's statement about how they still get tax deductions and health and how that has any effect on it. Also, my opponent had stated that the the minimum wage workers would still fall above the poverty line of being a single, person working full time in the minimum wage. But the average age of a fast food worker is 29 years old. For women specifically, it's 32, and 36% of fast food workers older than 20 have kids. And the average age of a big box retail worker is over 30. So that's just some statistics about what kind of people are working with minimum wage and how it's not really realistic to generalize that they will be above the poverty line because most of them are not single, they're not living just by themselves. My opponent had also mentioned about the possibility that raising minimum wage will affect unemployment, and I have a quote from that same article of the "Why Raising Minimum Wage is Good Economics" that says that this is a comparison, just to gain a little perspective. The youth employment rate in Germany is 7.8%, and in Switzerland it's 8.5%. The contrast to U.S. youth unemployment is 15.5%, even though the U.S. minimum wage is below that of Germany's and Switzerland's. In other words, both have higher minimum wages but much lower youth unemployment rates. Their overall unemployment rate is also lower, 4.5% and 3.4% respectively. The minimum wage makes no difference in unemployment. So that is just a comparison to prove that it will not have an effect on unemployment at all. And lastly, he had made a statement about how they would be less encouraged to be educated. However, I have a quote here from the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, stating that low-wage workers are far better educated today in the past, with nearly 4 in 5, or 79%, of the bottom fifth of wage earners have graduated from high school today, compared to less than half, which was 48%, in 1968. In the year which minimum wage reached its highest value, like he had mentioned, that was the highest value. So all in all, I I would like to restate our significance claim that the federal minimum wage at 25 needs to be raised to account for inflation. Our inherency claim that the present federal minimum wage at $7.25 puts minimum wage workers below the poverty line, and our solvency claim that increasing the federal minimum wage will stimulate the economy, and conclude that with our resolution of the federal minimum wage should be raised to $10 an hour. Thank you.